So arraignment is just a fancy word for your first court date. People are always super nervous and super anxious about their first court date, but the truth is not much happens. Most cases are not resolved and certainly should not be resolved in one court date. That's just not how it works. Going to court for your first court date is a lot like going to school. You get into the courthouse, you go, you find your courtroom, you sit down, you're not by yourself. Again, people sometimes think like, is the police officer going to be there? Am I going to have to testify? Is the judge going to ask me questions? And that's not really how it works. It's not movie, it's not TV. It's like going to school. The judge is going to come out, he or she is going to call all the names in the docket for that morning. You're going to stand up, you're going to say, I'm present, I'm here, you're going to sit down, and that's kind of it for the day, right? Your attorney's going to come in, they're going to do a little negotiating with the DAs, talk to the judge, and then your case most likely is going to reset for 30 or 45 days. So if you're nervous about like, am I going to be asked questions? What do I say? Is the person that's accusing me of something, are they going to be there? Are they going to be showing videos of me or anything like that? None of that stuff is going to happen on your first court date. That's a trial. Your first court date is very anticlimactic. It's nothing to be nervous about. It's nothing to be worried about. All you need to do is make sure you got your attorneys lined up, show up on time, and you're not going to have any issues. So after your arraignment, which again is just a fancy word for your first court date, you're going to have pretrial hearings. And again, it sounds scarier than it is. What it really is you're going to show up at the courthouse. You're going to go to the same courtroom that you were at for your first court date. It's going to be the same judge. It's going to be the same group of 30 or 45 people. Judge is going to call your name. You're going to announce that you're there. And then you're just kind of hanging out waiting for your attorney to arrive at your courtroom. People sometimes get nervous if their attorney isn't there like right on time. It's like a doctor kind of arriving at a hospital and they make their rounds from patient to patient. That's what lawyers are doing in the morning. They get to the courthouse and they're going from client to client, courtroom to courtroom. Eventually they'll get there and they'll talk to you about your situation. They'll talk to the prosecutor. And again, a lot of times cases will reset multiple times before we get to a resolution. And it's not delaying for just the sake of delaying. It's delaying to negotiate and to put yourself in the best possible position to get the best outcome possible, whether that's a dismissal, whether it's a plea, whatever it is, time usually benefits cases. And so cases are going to reset multiple times. With criminal cases, time is your friend. Time heals all wounds. And so what we're looking to do is, as the case is delayed, we're looking to do things that are going to improve your situation when there finally is a deal or when the case gets dismissed. We do that by mitigation. Maybe we'll recommend some classes for you. Maybe we'll recommend some courses that you can take online. We're going to do different things in order to get you the best possible outcome. People are worried by delays. Courts are backed up. They've been backed up for years. A delay is not a bad thing. A reset is not a bad word. Again, you don't want your case resolved quickly. The worst offers are at the front end of the process. The best offers are right at the end, right? And so you don't want an attorney that's pushing you to take the first deal the prosecutor offers you. You're gonna want the case to go on for a while. It's gonna reset. You're gonna do things to improve your situation. And only then can you make the decision whether you want to go to trial, whether you want to take a plea, whether the case is going to get dismissed, whether it's going to go off your record, whatever it is. But that process is going to take time. So when you meet with an attorney for the first time, you're going to go in on some sort of consultation. And usually what attorneys did in the past was they would give you a cost, but it was by the hour, or it was billables, or it was per hearing, or it was, court, but it doesn't include trial, all kinds of things that attorneys used to use to rack up bills on clients. So at BRCK, we don't do any of that stuff. When you talk to us, you're going to get a flat fee, and that fee includes everything. It includes trial fees, it includes phone calls, it includes the investigation, it includes a trial or a plea or a dismissal or whatever you need in your case. It is all going to be wrapped up in that flat fee, and it's never going to change. We're going to put it in writing. We're never going to ask you for more money. Some people have this misconception that, well, look, the longer my case goes on, the more expensive it's going to be. And maybe that's true with other attorneys. Maybe it's true with other law firms. But at BRCK, it doesn't. Once you pay us that front flat fee, that includes everything, whether the case goes on for a month or whether it goes on for 5 years. We're not going to come back and ask you for more money. Our only concern is getting you the best possible outcome, regardless of how long that takes. So cases get set for trial all the time. What it means is that up to that point, negotiations have not been successful, right? We're asking for the case to be dismissed. They're asking for something else. We can't get on the same page. And so eventually the case will get set for trial. And that's the judge telling us, hey, it is time to make a decision. Trials are a little bit of like what you see on TV. They're going to bring in the jury. That's when you're going to testify. That's when you're going to show the videos. That's when the police officers are going to be there. The key thing is that you want to make sure that you have actual trial attorneys on your team. You don't want to have attorneys that have never tried a case. Trials are just like everything else. You get better as you do more of them, right? And so at our law firm, we have attorneys that have had numerous trials, former prosecutors that have had trials. That's what you want. You want people with experience, not just in playing people out, but actually trial experience. That way, when the case goes there to trial, they're not intimidated. They're not nervous. They're not worried. They're just focused on getting you that not guilty that you deserve. So before a trial, you'll get with your attorney and you'll discuss your trial strategy. One of the big questions is always, am I going to testify? You don't have to testify, right? Constitution protects us from that. But you may decide you want to get up on the stand and tell your story. You may decide that you don't want to testify. That's going to be entirely up to you. Once the case starts, the prosecution gets to go first. They call up their police officers and their witnesses, and then we get to cross-examine them on all the inconsistencies and all the credibility issues that they have. Misdemeanor trials could last a day, 2 days, 3 days. Felony trials are usually a week or even 2 weeks. It depends on the severity of the case, the number of witnesses, the amount of evidence. We've had cases where the state has only 1 or 2 pieces of evidence, and those cases are resolved very, very quickly. We've had other situations where the state has 100, 200 pieces of evidence, and those cases may take weeks upon weeks. So the length of the trial depends on how much evidence is in the case. Eventually, the case goes to the jury, and the jury is going to make a decision. It has to be unanimous. That's one of the things that people kind of get confused is, well, what if half people say this or half people say that? Everybody on that jury panel has to agree. You're either guilty or not guilty. If there's anybody holding out, it's a hung jury, and you do the trial again. So usually getting arrested is the worst night of people's lives. The process afterwards can be very intimidating. It can be very scary. You do have the choice of who you have go to court with you, and that's a really important choice, all right? So the advice is always hire good, exclusively criminal defense firms that have experience doing trials and working in those courts. That way, you get the best possible outcome in your case, whether it's a dismissal, whether it's keeping it off your record, whatever it is, you get the best chance of getting that outcome by hiring good, experienced criminal defense firms.